What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue. What I'm be doing today is going to be some shrimp and grits, and we are definitely going to be taking these shrimp and grits to another level. This recipe is in collaboration with another YouTube channel. Chef Loria's got with me. She wanted to do a shrimp and grits collaboration, and I think she thought that since I wasn't from Colorado that I wasn't going to be bringing it. So I am going to be kind of taking these shrimp and grits outside the box just to let her know you don't have to be from the South to get down on this. Anyway, I'm gonna leave a link to her channel in the iCard above and description below, as well as a link to her recipe so you can see exactly how good her grits are, even though they're not gonna be as good as mine. Anyway, let's quit running our mouth. Come on in and take a look at these ingredients. These are the ingredients we're gonna be using, but I will have a list of ingredients and my recipe in the description below. What you see here is probably a bit more than what I'll be using, but when I have my son do my sous chef work for me, I definitely make sure I get my money's worth and have him chop up a little bit more than I need. Anyway, what we're rocking with today is we got some jumbo shrimp. These are 13, 15 count shrimp, white wine, some yellow peppers, some rosemary, red peppers, some flour, or some seasoned flour. We're gonna mix that up. This is just kind of a Cajun seasoning and flour mixture. Parsley, jalapenos. We're gonna take this up a notch. If you don't like jalapenos, you could just use green peppers. And if you don't like any of these peppers, just don't even use those. We have some celery that's diced, garlic, minced garlic, some green onions we have sliced thinly. Rather than using onions, I'm going with shallots. We have some bacon that we're going to be frying off. Now I made some homemade chicken stock, or not chicken stock, seafood stock. And whenever I know that I'm going to be cooking something with some seafood, what I do is I start freezing any seafood shells that I have. So I recently made a lobster recipe. I froze those up, and then I had some shrimp shells as well. Threw in some celery, carrots, and just some other herbs, and then just reduce that down into a stock with some salt. Anyway, those are our ingredients. We'll get to these ingredients for our grits down the road because they're going to be as delicious as this is. So anyway, I'm going to clear this off. We're going to get cooking. Step number one in this recipe is going to be to go ahead and cook this bacon down. Now you're not going to want the bacon to be cooking really hot and fast. What we want to do is kind of get a good slow kind of a cook on this bacon so this fat will release itself. And we're not looking for anything that's like a super crispy kind of a bacon. We just want to let this kind of go low and slow. Or let's put it this way, put your stove on medium. Be good to go with that. Anyway, I have more bacon than I need here, but I will be setting some of this aside for another recipe. And these bacon drippings are going to be perfect for when we cook this shrimp in just a minute. So now we have our bacon cooking. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and flour these shrimp. And this is, like I said, the Cajun seasoning and our flour mixture. Nothing too serious. We're just going to want to get a nice little coat on there. Shake off any excess. Rendered all the fat off of this bacon, we're just going to go ahead and remove it, and we're just going to go ahead and set this aside. So this is a little bit more fat than we're going to need for the recipe, but we are going to go ahead and cook our shrimp in this. So we're just going to go ahead and throw our shrimp in. We're not going to cook it too long. We're just going to cook them for, just as long as it takes for them to kind of get a little pink on both sides. We don't need them to be cooked all the way through. So these are right where we want them. We're just going to go ahead, set these aside, and I'm going to drain off a little bit of this bacon grease. I think we have a little bit too much for our vegetables. Once I do that, we'll get cooking those up. About all we need to do is add whatever vegetables you want. Like I said, we're going with a few different types. Those are our yellow peppers, our celery. Let's make sure we get plenty of jalapenos up in there. Some of these red peppers. Now the recipe in the description is not going to be as hearty as this one. I'm making a little bit of extra gravy. So if you want to bump it up, just go ahead and bump it up. But this I am making more than the standard recipe right here. These are shallots. I'm going to go ahead and let this cook until they start getting a little soft. So these vegetables look like they're starting to get soft. We're going to go ahead and add our garlic in. We're going to go ahead and hit it with our flour. We're going to want to cook this for about 2 minutes. We just want that flour taste to be cooked out. Now, I'm probably going to go a little bit longer than 2 minutes. I do prefer a darker roux. So I may go 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes. So now that these vegetables are starting to get soft, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our homemade seafood stock and our white wine. This happens to be Chardonnay. One thing I did when I was cooking those shrimp tails was the ones that I left the tails on. I did cook those just a little bit longer than the ones without. And that was because I may not add those to this kind of a gravy mixture. I may just add those on top. I'm not sure yet. We're going to play that by ear. Anyway, we got the wine. We have our seafood stock in there. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of rosemary. And I'm going to go ahead and let this reduce for about 15, 20, 25 minutes. I'm going to turn it real low. So as far as these grits go, I'm not using instant grits. Personally, I think you could use whatever you want. I really can't tell the difference. But really all we're going to do is cook them according to the package. I'm starting off with a little less liquid. I'm using some of that seafood stock that we had. For all you YouTube cooks out there, I am using this induction cooktop by Avalon Bay. It makes it a little bit easier than rolling over to the stove. Anyway, so we have our liquid in. Just throw in our grits. And I'm going to let those kind of start working. I'm going to stir them occasionally. In the meantime, I still haven't seasoned up our gravy over here, so let's get working on that. Now, so far I haven't added any seasoning to it at all. Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't too salty with that seafood stock, since I did have a little salt in that. And you know what? We're pretty good on it, but what I'm going to be using is, I have this seasoning by Cooking with Cade. It's just kind of an all-purpose Cajun seasoning. We're just going to go ahead and season it with that. I am going to start throwing in my shrimp at this point as well. So this is just going to stay on low here. You know, while we're sitting around thinking about it, I might as well throw some of this in as well, instead of waiting for later. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in now. Might as well throw our parsley in now as well. And this right here is a done deal. I may thin it out a little bit more since it is kind of thickening up on me. So I probably will add a little bit more stock to this, but at this point you could take this as thick or as thin as you'd like. That's going to be personal preference. So now these grits are starting to get creamy, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our smoked Gouda to it. Now these are going to tighten up a little bit, and what we're going to thin them out with is going to be some of this heavy cream. Alright, so see how those grits are looking now? These are good to go right there, but I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more just to give it a little bit more creaminess. I'm going to turn the heat down on this, and I'm going to let this go for about 5 more minutes. We'll be good to go. Alright guys, so this is a wrap. Take a look at how creamy these grits are right here. Let's go ahead and get some of those up in here. Now you could have these as thick or as thin as you like. Alright, boom. Let's go ahead and hit it with this shrimp. Now boom, just go ahead and hit it with a few chives. Some bacon. And it's a wrap. Let's do a taste test. Alright, so that is a wrap. I know Chef Lorius can cook. I'm not sure if she went this outside the box, on her shrimp and grits. But like I said, run over there, take a look, see what she's came up with. Go ahead, get on in.
Them grits are nice and creamy. That sauce matches it perfectly. Well spiced, and that shrimp is just so nice and tender. What more could you want?
I think this came out well. You know, sometimes you gotta critique yourself. You know, I think, well, if you look at the grits I made, I didn't add any seasoning to that. There was enough seasoning in that stock, but I might have gone a little bit darker on that roux, just a little bit. Just a tad bit. But I think it's all that. Got a little spice from those jalapenos up in there. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. Comment, subscribe. I'm out.
It's real good.